Orion made his way smoothly through the establishment, ascending toward the third floor without any obstruction, as his employees discreetly nodded or bowed in quiet acknowledgement as he passed by. Reaching the third floor, Orion gently opened the elaborately decorated wooden door, stepping calmly inside before heading towards the room at the far back. The lavish room contained shelves lined with old paintings, fine furniture, and a polished desk positioned centrally. Seated comfortably behind the desk, Magi lounged leisurely with his white rabbit perched on his shoulder, inspecting documents spread messily across the surface, a half-filled glass of alcohol within easy reach. At the sound of Orion's arrival, Magi raised his head sharply, his eyes widening with surprise as he saw who had come. "Orion! You finally woke up." He quickly rose from his seat and approached Orion while looking him up and down at his changed features. "Though I must say, you have changed a lot now, nearly as handsome as me." Orion's lips twitched hearing him shamelessly praising himself. "Let him wear the maid dress, master. /n-o-d-l.com." He inwardly exhaled, "Yes, it's been a few days since I woke up. I've been recuperating back inside my home." Magi heaved a heavy sigh, his usually carefree face turning serious as he recalled the events from 8 months prior. The events of that day were truly intense, Orion. To think you ended up so severely injured fighting off that high-ranked kidnapper. I honestly didn't expect you to recover in just 8 months. From the way Lord Eldrick and Lady Selene described your injuries, I feared you'd need several years to recuperate fully. Orion nodded slowly, his expression turning subtly somber. "Indeed, I'm still not fully recovered. What you've seen today is mostly due to the evolution I underwent recently. It allowed me to regain consciousness, though my injuries aren't entirely healed yet." Magi immediately fell silent at Orion's admission. Despite his easygoing personality and bold behavior, he knew better than to pry deeper into Orion's mysterious draconic lineage. Understanding the need to shift the conversation away from sensitive matters, he smoothly changed the topic. "Well, anyway, boss," Magi leaned forward slightly, a curious gleam returning to his eyes, "what brings you here today? I didn't expect you to come here so soon after waking up." A playful smile tugged at Orion's lips as he looked at Magi. "To see if you've been slacking off or not, of course." Magi's smug smile instantly returned as he swiftly moved back behind his desk, clearing away the scattered documents and glasses. He opened a drawer, pulling out a neatly folded map and spreading it carefully across the polished wooden surface. Curious, Orion stepped closer to examine it, Edgar silently watching from behind. Orion raised an eyebrow in recognition as he realized what he was looking at. "Isn't this the entire map of Thunder Peak Kingdom?" Magi chuckled confidently, tapping his finger on several cities marked prominently with bold red circles. "Exactly, boss. Do you recognize these cities?" Orion's gaze sharpened, studying the marked locations carefully. "Yes. They're the major trade cities of our kingdom, including Silver Fall, Emberlyn, Blackrock, and several others." Magi's smile broadened into a proud, triumphant grin as he continued, clearly relishing the moment. "Limitless Haven has expanded significantly over these past 8 months, boss. We've established a solid presence in all these major cities. Now, we're officially one of the largest chambers of commerce in Thunder Peak Kingdom." Orion's eyes widened dramatically in genuine shock, disbelief evident in his expression. "What? In only 8 months? How the hell did you manage that?" Magi smugly leaned back in his chair, folding his arms confidently across his chest. "Naturally, it's all thanks to my exceptional business strategies, your resources, and, of course, the firm backing of House Hellstorm. Without such powerful support, those greedy business tycoons would have squashed a rising competitor like us. But lately, things have turned surprisingly favorable for us." Orion raised a curious eyebrow, intrigued. "Favorable? How so?" Magi's expression turned subtly more serious as he continued, "Recently, there was an incident involving a noble house, boss, a major one, too. After that, all the noble families have grown cautious, limiting their movements and activities. It created a unique opportunity for our establishment to quickly gain a foothold. Orion leaned in, eyes narrowing slightly. Tell me more about this noble house. What was their rank, and did anyone find out why it happened? Magi paused thoughtfully, rubbing his chin before explaining further. The house involved was House Delmeyer, a Marquis-ranked family. What I heard was quite disturbing. Apparently, in a single night, their entire younger generation was wiped out. Boys, girls, none survived. It was swift and brutal. Orion's expression instantly hardened, his gaze turning grave. Did the kingdom not investigate such a severe matter? Magi shrugged lightly, his own expression showing clear confusion. Surprisingly, the Delmeyer house itself requested the king to halt the investigation, and strangely enough, King Reynold complied immediately, ceasing all inquiries the very next day. Orion's brow furrowed deeply in thought as he absorbed this unsettling information. How strange. Edgar, did you hear anything about this incident? Edgar shook his head slowly, speaking calmly. I haven't looked deeply into it, young master. My attention was primarily focused on ensuring your safety and investigating threats related directly to our house and the Insanity Creed. Orion nodded thoughtfully, storing this information for later consideration before turning his attention back to Magi. Well, that matter is interesting, but it doesn't directly concern us right now. What I really need from you today are mana crystals. How many can you spare? Magi's face immediately reddened in embarrassment, shifting awkwardly. Boss, why do you always have to empty my coffers every single time you come here? I've been carefully using our profits to expand and reinvest in the business. Orion raised a calm hand, stopping Magi's complaint mid-sentence. Enough whining. I know you always keep an emergency stash somewhere for unforeseen situations. How much have you hidden away? Magi's lips twitched visibly, clearly reluctant. Eventually, he sighed heavily in resignation, reaching under his desk to a hidden compartment. Pulling out a well-concealed storage ring, he placed it hesitantly onto the table, pushing it toward Orion with obvious heartache. Here, boss. Please handle this carefully, it's all I have saved up to fund the opening of our next major shop. Orion swiftly snatched the ring, quickly scanning it with his mental senses. His eyes widened immediately in shock and satisfaction as he witnessed several small mountains of mana crystals, carefully piled within the storage space. At a rough estimate, the count easily exceeded 25,000 crystals. With a pleased smile, Orion nodded appreciatively. Not bad, Magi. Don't look so depressed, I promise I'll send over a fresh batch of goods for you to sell soon enough. You'll easily make back what I'm taking now. Magi slumped dramatically back into his chair, sighing in exaggerated despair. You're ruthless, boss. Absolutely ruthless. Orion chuckled lightly, shaking his head as he turned toward the exit, Edgar quietly following behind him. As they reached the doorway, Orion paused briefly, glancing back toward Magi with genuine appreciation in his eyes. Good work, Magi. You've truly exceeded my expectations. A faint smile returned to Magi's lips, clearly satisfied with Orion's sincere praise. As Orion stepped calmly out into the corridor and made his way downstairs, Magi's voice echoed playfully from behind, make sure to visit again soon, boss. Preferably without taking everything I've saved. Orion chuckled quietly, shaking his head as he exited the building alongside Edgar. Orion and Edgar stepped out of Limitless Haven, the soft golden sunlight washing gently over their figures as they emerged onto the bustling streets of the central market district. The energetic sounds of vendors enthusiastically calling out their goods, along with the lively chatter of merchants and customers haggling, once again enveloped them. The two made their way through the vibrant marketplace, calmly navigating between the crowded stalls. Edgar moved steadily at Orion's side, his watchful eyes constantly scanning their surroundings with vigilance. Soon enough, they approached their obsidian-black carriage, elegantly parked near the market's entrance. However, Orion's steps abruptly slowed, his eyebrows lifting slightly in bemusement at the scene before him. Luke and Lay sprawled lazily across the driver's seat, eyes shut, mouth slightly agape, snoring softly. Edgar sighed softly, shaking his head in mild exasperation. This brat never changes, he muttered quietly. Orion chuckled gently, approaching the carriage. He reached out, lightly tapping Lucan's shoulder. Brother Lucan, wake up. We're heading back. Lucan jolted awake instantly, eyes blinking rapidly in confusion before settling on Orion's calm yet amused face. Immediately, he grinned sheepishly, quickly sitting upright and grabbing the reins. Oh, young master. You're finally back? I was, just resting my eyes a bit. Orion's lips curved into a knowing smirk, not bothering to point out Lucan's earlier dramatic antics. Of course, you were. Edgar lightly shook his head, suppressing a small smile as he boarded the carriage first, followed by Orion, who stepped gracefully into the luxurious compartment. Lucan swiftly composed himself, shaking the reins gently and guiding the carriage smoothly back onto the main street toward Hellstorm Mansion. As the carriage moved away from the bustling market, Orion leaned back comfortably against the plush seat cushions, thoughtfully gazing outside the window. The scenery shifted from lively market streets to the quieter roads lined with well-tended gardens and grand residences, signaling their approach to the mansion. Meanwhile, in a tranquil space beyond the known realms, an endless, silent darkness stretched infinitely. Here, the profound stillness remained undisturbed except by the slow, rhythmic breathing of a colossal ancient dragon, its massive body coiled gracefully within the eternal void. Its scales, an iridescent mix of deep blues and shimmering golds, gleamed softly, as if illuminated by distant stars. Across from the great dragon, sitting calmly at a simple wooden table floating impossibly amidst the void, was Echo. He held a small porcelain cup, sipping tea serenely, his eyes gazing steadily at the slumbering dragon. After a few quiet moments, the ancient dragon's massive eyes slowly opened, revealing pupils filled with swirling mysteries of time itself. Its deep voice resonated through the tranquil void with a weary sigh. Did you truly need to teach them such a harsh lesson, Primordial Emperor? Echo's expression remained calm, but his voice carried a subtle yet firm conviction. Yes. I've stayed silent for far too long. The new emperor seemed to have forgotten the days when I once ruled the realms. It was time for a gentle reminder. The massive dragon, the time-true dragon emperor, exhaled slowly, a ripple of temporal energy washing softly through the darkness. Very well. I will speak to the space-true dragon emperor and the others about this incident. We will ensure the matter rests here, preventing unnecessary conflict from escalating. Echo calmly inclined his head in acknowledgement, setting his cup gently upon the floating table. That would be for the best. A quiet pause settled briefly before Echo's eyes sharpened slightly with curiosity, smoothly changing the topic. Tell me, old friend, what about those who left to explore the unknown? How many have departed? The time-true dragon emperor shifted his massive form slightly, his enormous scales whispering gently against the fabric of space-time as he considered Echo's question carefully. A few emperors and many of their most loyal aides and friends have embarked upon their journeys into the beyond. More significantly, the dragon's voice took on an amused undertone. That reckless monkey stormed into the origin realm, gathered several willing emperors, and boldly shattered the barriers of Archiliacosm with his staff to explore the unknown. Echo raised an intrigued eyebrow, mild surprise flickering briefly across his usually composed expression. Oh? Victorious fighting Buddha himself left Archiliacosm? How did the Jade Emperor react to this news? At this, the great dragon released a hearty, resonant laugh, the sound shaking through the silent expanse with genuine mirth. Ha ha ha. You should have seen it. Upon hearing this news, that old man was so delighted he held a grand celebration lasting 10 days and 10 nights. Echo chuckled gently, a rare genuine smile appearing briefly upon his serene features. I can easily imagine his delight. But what about Tathagata? Didn't he attempt to dissuade the monkey from leaving? The dragon grew quiet, his massive head nodding slowly with thoughtful solemnity. Indeed, I visited Tathagata personally to discuss this matter. He calmly informed me that each individual has their own path to follow, and victorious fighting Buddha had decisively chosen his own. Echo fell silent, contemplating the dragon's words deeply. His expression grew subtly distant, reminiscing thoughtfully. Victorious fighting Buddha was among the most formidable warriors during the Great Battle. I had expected him to spend his remaining years quietly within the Kiliacosm, yet now he's ventured forth into the unknown once again. The time-true Dragon Emperor released a soft, knowing sigh, his voice turning quietly serious. Interestingly, he left behind a legacy, Echo. While I have not personally verified the claim, rumors state that he left Ruijingubang behind and turned it into a spatial treasure filled with trials, capable of interrealm transportation. At this revelation, Echo's eyes flashed sharply with genuine surprise and skepticism. His voice carried evident doubt. Ruijingubang? His treasured staff? Impossible. That staff was bound deeply to his soul. There must be some misunderstanding or deception in your information. The great dragon solemnly nodded, acknowledging Echo's disbelief with deep seriousness. I fear the same. I do not believe that proud monkey would willingly leave behind Ruijingubang, the weapon so closely tied to his own legend and very existence. The tranquil space fell into profound silence, both Echo and the time-true Dragon Emperor becoming absorbed in their own contemplations, carefully considering the deeper implications of this puzzling news. If victorious fighting Buddha had truly departed without his treasured staff, it hinted at deeper mysteries, possibly threats, that even beings of their stature were unaware of. Such an event could herald unforeseen changes across their Kiliacosm, potentially affecting the balance of power among realms and emperors. Echo quietly lifted his porcelain cup, sipping his tea slowly, his gaze becoming distant as he mulled over the potential consequences of this unprecedented development. Beside him, the massive dragon's ancient eyes likewise grew distant, his thoughts diving deeply into the intricate currents of time, searching for clarity amidst uncertainty. Together, they sat silently, two powerful existences contemplating the hidden threads weaving through the vast cosmos, aware that new storms might soon approach, testing their Kiliacosm's fragile peace once more. Back inside the Thunder Peak Kingdom, the obsidian-black carriage rolled gracefully into the expansive grounds of Hellstorm Mansion. The rhythmic clatter of hooves against polished cobblestones echoed gently as Lucan expertly guided the carriage to a smooth stop near the mansion's main entrance. Stepping down onto the polished marble path, Orion took a deep breath, gazing thoughtfully toward the serene blue sky above. The warm afternoon sunlight bathed his features softly, accentuating the subtle maturity and determination reflected in his dual-colored eyes. I got back earlier than expected, Orion thought to himself, a faint smile playing on his lips. Might as well head inside and train later. Turning calmly, Orion glanced toward Edgar, who stood patiently at his side. With a nod, he quietly said, "Uncle Edgar, I have something to take care of first. Would you mind training with me later today?" Edgar readily nodded his head, but his eyes held a hint of concern. "But young master, are you sure about this? Is your body better now?" Orion chuckled softly and nodded his head. "Yes, my body is good enough to practice swordsmanship. I'll meet with you and Brother Lucan later." He smiled appreciatively before stepping toward the grand mansion entrance, ascending the elegant steps. Edgar and Lucan remained standing near the carriage, quietly watching Orion's retreating figure until he disappeared behind the mansion's ornate doors. Inside the mansion, Orion moved gracefully through familiar hallways toward his room, immersed in thinking about today's events, especially about all the mana crystals he had gathered. However, as he passed near the spacious main hall, the sound of faint voices drifted softly into his ears. Pausing briefly, Orion's eyebrows lifted curiously at the unmistakable tones of Eldrick and Celine engaged in an unusually heated discussion. Intrigued, Orion silently approached the large wooden door of the main hall, gently pushing it open a mere crack, peering discreetly inside. Celine stood sternly in the center of the grand hall, hands planted firmly on her hips, her vibrant eyes narrowed fiercely toward Eldrick, who sat comfortably in an elegant armchair, exasperation clearly etched into his aged but still distinguished features. "Why didn't you tell me sooner that our grandson had already awakened, you stubborn old geezer?" Celine's voice carried clear frustration and affectionate irritation, her usual graceful composure momentarily disrupted by genuine worry. Eldrick released a weary sigh, rubbing his temples with a tired hand. Because, Celine, had I informed you earlier, you'd have immediately abandoned your mission to obtain the elixir. Knowing your temperament, you would have rushed back directly to Orion and forgotten about the elixir. Celine's eyes flashed dangerously, her elegant features contorting into a delicate scowl. She was just about to deliver a fiery retort when Orion, deciding to intervene before matters escalated further, gently pushed the hall's door open fully and calmly entered. Grandma, Grandpa, Orion spoke softly, his calm voice easily drawing their immediate attention. Celine instantly spun around, her eyes widening dramatically in surprise and delight upon seeing Orion standing confidently in the doorway. Orion. In a swift movement, Celine crossed the room, reaching Orion in a heartbeat. Without hesitation, she enveloped him tightly within her embrace, holding him gently but firmly as if fearing he might vanish once again. Orion, Celine whispered softly, her voice trembling with emotion as small tears of relief and joy formed within her clear eyes. You're finally awake. Feeling the warmth and genuine care radiating from his grandmother's embrace, Orion's heart softened warmly, a gentle smile forming naturally upon his lips as he returned the hug. Yes, Grandma. I'm well now and fully awake. Across the room, Eldrick released a gentle sigh of quiet relief, visibly relaxing now that Celine's wrath had shifted away from him. With mild exhaustion, the old man eased back into his armchair, observing the emotional reunion with quiet satisfaction. After a lingering moment, Celine slowly stepped back, her eyes still glistening as she examined Orion more closely. Her gaze traveled carefully from his increased height to the striking heterochromatic eyes now radiating a sense of maturity and his usual confidence. You truly have changed, my dear Orion, Celine spoke softly, voice filled with quiet pride mingled with lingering worry. Her eyes softened further, glimmering affectionately. But what matters most is that you are finally awake. She grasped Orion's hand gently yet insistently, pulling him toward the large, elegant table positioned at the hall's center. Come, sit with us now. We have much to discuss. Orion allowed himself to be guided forward, his expression calm and affectionate, clearly appreciative of his grandmother's genuine care and how she didn't change her treatment just because he was a dragon. Together, they approached the polished wooden table where Eldrick sat comfortably observing them. Celine quickly guided Orion to sit near her side, her protective gaze never leaving him as if afraid he might disappear again. Settling himself comfortably, Orion glanced toward Eldrick, who observed him with quiet amusement and warmth now that the earlier tension had diffused. Orion gave a faint, apologetic smile, quietly appreciating the old man's patience in dealing with Celine's fiery temperament. With Orion seated, Celine finally seemed to relax visibly, her gentle hand still resting protectively upon his own as she softly began questioning him, voice gentle yet still filled with subtle worry. Tell me, Orion, how do you truly feel now? Are you in any pain? Orion smiled reassuringly, meeting her concerned gaze calmly. I'm feeling much better, Grandma. Except a few things, I'm feeling good. Eldrick shook his head lightly, a knowing smirk tugging at the corners of his lips as he spoke while leaning back comfortably in his armchair. No need to lie to her, brat. She knows your condition far better than you think. You're wrecked in almost every place imaginable. Orion chuckled sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head with mild embarrassment. He had indeed underestimated his grandmother's sharp perception. Celine's gentle smile held both affection and subtle reprimand as she reached into the folds of her elegant robes, drawing forth a delicate crystal vial from her storage ring. The vial shimmered gently, its contents a mesmerizing liquid with a rich, radiant silver hue. It emanated a profound aura of vitality and soothing warmth that filled the air, immediately calming Orion's restless heart. This, Celine spoke softly yet confidently, carefully placing the precious vial on the polished wooden table and gently pushing it toward Orion, is what I sought from the elven high priestess herself. This elixir possesses immense restorative properties. It will heal all your damaged meridians, stabilize your internal injuries, and repair your physical foundation. With it, you should finally be able to use mana normally again. Orion's eyes widened significantly in wonder and appreciation, his gaze fixed upon the shimmering vial with genuine anticipation. Yea! With this, only your soul and sea of consciousness remain to be fixed. But those are also the harder parts. One step at a time, Lil Lumi, one step. He inwardly said, while his heart felt moved at the thought and effort Celine put into getting this elixir from the faraway elven lands. For a lingering moment, Orion simply stared quietly at the vial resting before him, the radiant silver liquid softly illuminating his contemplative features. He wondered if she had paid any significant price for it. Eventually, Orion carefully picked up the vial, gently placing it into his storage ring. He then exhaled softly, a firm resolution forming within his heart. However, rather than immediately departing, Orion remained seated, quietly lifting his gaze to meet the watchful, caring eyes of Eldrick and Celine. "Grandpa, Grandma," Orion began cautiously, his voice steady yet carrying subtle hesitance, "about my dragon lineage." At his words, Eldrick and Celine's expressions shifted instantly, growing intensely serious. The comfortable warmth in the room briefly cooled as both elders leaned forward attentively, clearly recognizing the gravity behind Orion's quiet statement. Celine's vibrant eyes were filled with gentle reassurance, silently urging Orion to speak openly. Eldrick's gaze, meanwhile, reflected quiet determination tempered by patient wisdom, silently communicating his readiness to support Orion no matter how complicated the truth might be. Orion took a slow, deep breath, gathering his thoughts carefully. He knew his grandparents deserved honesty about this crucial matter, especially after the lengths they'd gone to for his sake. "I understand that both of you might have suspected this for quite some time now," Orion spoke softly, his dual-colored eyes calm yet holding a depth of seriousness they'd rarely seen before. "My lineage isn't exactly straightforward, and after the events of that day, my dragon bloodlines underwent evolution and reached the juvenile stage. I possess the true fire dragon and true thunder dragon bloodlines." A complete silence enveloped the grand hall. Celine's eyes widened dramatically, her usually calm and gentle expression overtaken by unmasked astonishment. Eldrick's previously relaxed posture stiffened as he straightened abruptly in his seat, his wizened eyes staring at Orion with a mix of disbelief and bewilderment. They had suspected Orion to be a draconian, a hybrid with diluted dragon blood, but to hear that their grandson possessed not one, but two true dragon lineages was beyond anything they had imagined. After a moment of tense silence, Eldrick managed to find his voice. His words came out strained, filled with confusion. "Impossible. How can you possess the human emperor's lineage while simultaneously being a true dragon?" Orion shook his head gently, lifting his hands in an open gesture. His own expression showed sincere uncertainty, reflective of his own internal questions. "I don't fully understand it myself, Grandpa. Yet, the truth is undeniable. I carry both the true fire dragon, the true thunder dragon lineages, and the human emperor's legacy within me. I still don't comprehend exactly how or why this happened, only that it is so." Celine, who had remained quiet and contemplative, finally spoke softly, her voice quivering slightly with a mixture of fascination and curiosity. "Then Orion, are you able to transform fully into your true dragon form?" Orion went silent, thinking back to the past few days if he had tried to transform. After a moment, he shook his head slowly, answering with genuine uncertainty, "Honestly, I haven't tried yet." Celine nodded thoughtfully, clearly considering the potential risks involved. With a graceful wave of her slender hand, a ripple of delicate yet formidable mana spread out swiftly, enveloping the entire grand hall. The air shimmered briefly as an invisible barrier solidified, sealing their conversation securely from prying eyes and ears. "Then don't attempt to transform until you've completely healed your internal injuries," Celine instructed with gentle firmness. Her eyes held deep concern, clearly envisioning the possible dangers of Orion pushing himself prematurely. Trying it too early could lead to irreversible damage. Orion glanced around at the magically sealed hall, feeling the strength of his grandmother's protective magic. Understanding her worry and wisdom, he nodded obediently, promising softly, "Understood, Grandma. I'll be careful." Eldrick drew in a deep breath, releasing it slowly as he processed the magnitude of Orion's revelation. His aged features relaxed slightly into a look of understanding as he murmured thoughtfully, "No wonder you didn't tell us this earlier. Information like this is not something you can reveal carelessly, not unless you possess absolute strength. Otherwise, groups like the Insanity Creed would do everything in their power to capture you and unravel your secrets." Orion's eyes grew somber at Eldric's words, fully grasping the severity and truth within his grandfather's statement. "Yes, Grandpa. That's why I didn't bother telling you two about this before. I wasn't sure how you would react, and it would place a needless burden upon us." Celine reached out softly, patting Orion's shoulder comfortingly. Her voice was gentle and understanding. "It's good that you held back until now. Even I don't know exactly how we might have reacted had we known this earlier." Orion sighed helplessly, smiling softly at their open acceptance. "That's precisely why I struggled initially. Oh, and another thing, I think I might not be an ordinary true dragon. My instincts suggest there's something even more unique about my lineage, though I haven't discovered what exactly." He carefully dropped the subtle hint about his dragon emperor lineage, intending to make future revelations easier. Revealing everything at once, however, would be overwhelming, even for his wise grandparents. Eldric stroked his gray beard thoughtfully, curiosity brightening his aged eyes. "If you're a true dragon, Orion, then you must have a true name, correct?" Orion nodded gently, recalling clearly the profound awakening of his heritage. He spoke solemnly, each syllable vibrating with quiet yet commanding authority. "Yes. My true name is Primus Zalzarion Draconis." Instantly, the ambient mana within the hall seemed to tremble gently, resonating softly in response to Orion's spoken name, as if subtly bowing in acknowledgement of its sovereignty. Both Eldric and Celine reacted immediately, their expressions shifting swiftly from curiosity to genuine astonishment. Eldric's eyes widened noticeably, his mouth slightly agape in disbelief. "A three-word true name?" he exclaimed softly in shock, clearly understanding the profound significance behind Orion's revelation. Seeing Eldric's reaction, Orion inwardly muttered, "Do the two of them know something about true dragons' naming sense?" "Hee, of course they will know, Master. With how prideful the dragons are, I don't think they'd bother to hide this." He inwardly hummed in agreement and looked towards his grandma. Celine too stared at Orion in stunned silence, her eyes filled with surprise and awe. After a few moments, she managed to gather her thoughts enough to ask Eldric with quiet seriousness, "Old man, do you have any idea what Zalzarion means?" Eldric shook his head slowly, sighing in exasperation. "Unfortunately not. Those damned cryptic dragons have carefully guarded their ancient language. They don't even pass it down through inheritance, supposedly due to some obscure ancestral tradition or absurd rule." Listening to their conversation, Orion raised an eyebrow curiously. His inquisitive nature piqued sharply by their reactions, he asked openly, "Special meaning? Wouldn't the third word, Draconis, be the special one?" Eldric shook his head firmly, clarifying gently, "Among three-word true dragon names, the first word acts as the dragon's personal given name, while the third word is their family or clan name. The middle word, however, is extraordinarily significant. It encapsulates the dragon's essence, their fundamental aspect or element. For instance, legends say the middle name of the space dragon emperor directly translates as space. Although I've never heard his true name spoken aloud." Orion leaned forward excitedly, his curiosity fully ignited. "Then, Grandpa, is there a way to uncover the meaning behind Zalzarion?" Eldric gave Orion a regretful look, shaking his head again slowly. "Unfortunately, lad, it's not that simple. The dragons safeguard their ancient language fiercely. Acquiring knowledge of their tongue is near impossible, especially on this continent." A visible hint of disappointment flickered briefly across Orion's expressive features. Nevertheless, he quickly recovered his composure, smiling softly. "That's fine, Grandpa. My true name isn't going anywhere. Eventually, I'll discover its meaning." Sensing Orion's quiet acceptance, the atmosphere quickly lightened again. Eldric relaxed back into his chair, a small smile curling his lips beneath his mustache as he glanced warmly at his grandson. Regardless, lad, knowing your true name alone already places you among the highest ranks of dragons. Only the greatest and most ancient true dragons possess three-worded names. It's truly astonishing. Celine smiled gently, her gaze filled with warmth and pride as she squeezed Orion's hand affectionately. Indeed. No matter how many mysteries remain hidden about your lineage, my dear, you've already made your grandparents immensely proud. Your path might be extraordinary and filled with trials, but remember, we will always be here to support you. Orion felt his heart turning warm from all the love his grandparents were showering him with. Smiling genuinely, Orion nodded softly, "Thank you, Grandma, Grandpa. Your support means more to me than you can imagine." Eldrick chuckled warmly, leaning comfortably in his chair, his eyes twinkling playfully. "Enough serious talk for now, lad. You've given these old bones more surprises today than I expected to experience in a lifetime. Let's save the rest for another day, shall we?" Celine nodded softly in agreement, her expression relaxing into one of gentle warmth. "Indeed. You should head back and rest now." They chatted for a bit longer about what Orion did today before he got up from his seat and exited the hall. "Hee, master, is it about time to gamble?" "Hee, master, is it about time to gamble?" Inside his mind, Lumi's energetic voice chimed cheerfully, eager anticipation filling her words. A quiet chuckle slipped from Orion's lips as he shook his head, responding warmly in his mind, "Not yet, Lumi. First, I want to see if my mana channels can truly be restored by the elixir Grandma gave me." Lumi's tone immediately brightened with encouragement. "Oh, right. Primal mana channels might be troublesome to fix with normal elixirs. But I'm sure Grandma Celine's gift will fix everything up. For all." Orion smiled faintly, comforted by Lumi's limitless positivity. He continued through the familiar corridors, eventually reaching the large wooden door leading into his room. He pushed it open gently, stepping inside and allowing the familiar comfort of his room to calm his restless thoughts. The room was serene and quiet, just as he had left it. Orion approached the large, plush meditation mat at the center of the room, smoothly lowering himself into a comfortable, cross-legged position. With a soft exhale, he straightened his back, closed his eyes, and steadily slowed his breathing to a gentle, rhythmic pattern. Focusing inward, Orion extended his soul perception throughout his body, closely examining the state of his damaged mana channels. Immediately, a detailed mental image formed, clearly displaying all 27 channels spread like intricate threads throughout his body. Each channel had varying degrees of damage, small tears, cracks, and even complete obstructions in certain places. The damage was severe enough to obstruct smooth mana flow, dispersing much of the mana wildly and chaotically into his body tissues instead of allowing it to circulate properly. Orion frowned inwardly, seeing the condition of his mana channels, which seemed to have worsened since the last few days. Shaking his head slightly, he briefly opened his eyes as he carefully took out the shimmering silver vial given to him by Celine. He held the exquisite bottle gently in his palm, the radiant silver liquid inside pulsating softly with pure vitality and potent healing energy. The sheer density of life force radiating from the elixir filled him with hope. At that moment, Lumi's voice piped up again, brimming with excitement and optimism. "Best of luck, Master. This seems to be an incredibly high-grade treasure. Lumi believes fully that you'll be completely fixed with this." Her cheerful encouragement lightened Orion's mood considerably. Smiling warmly, he nodded softly, "Thank you, Lumi. Let's hope your faith is rewarded." With gentle determination, Orion uncorked the vial, raising it slowly to his lips. He tipped his head back slightly and drank the entire contents in one smooth motion. The instant the rich silver liquid touched his throat, a cool, soothing sensation spread through him, cascading smoothly downward into his chest, filling his body with comforting energy. Closing his eyes again, Orion directed his powerful soul perception inward, meticulously observing the elixir's movement. Guided precisely by his soul's meticulous control, the dense medicinal energy flowed seamlessly through his body, gently seeping into his damaged mana channels. At the moment the elixir touched the first channel, the medicinal power abruptly exploded outward, surging fiercely throughout the channels, greedily absorbing ambient mana within his body to enhance its effect. Orion's heart tightened in initial worry but soon relaxed as he witnessed the astonishingly rapid healing taking place before his inner eye. Each damaged segment of his mana channels rapidly regenerated, cracks sealing shut, obstructions dissolving away, tears mending perfectly. To his shock, however, the healing wasn't merely restorative. It seemed to surpass even peak restoration. He watched with disbelief as the previously damaged mana channels expanded significantly in diameter, rapidly growing thicker, denser, and tougher. The channels shimmered radiantly within his internal vision, evolving far beyond their former limits. Orion felt a ripple of astonishment. He had believed that the Academy's origin mana pool had already pushed his channels to their maximum possible state, yet now they expanded and strengthened far beyond anything he imagined. Recognizing the critical nature of this moment, Orion quickly cast aside all distracting thoughts, fully dedicating his immense soul power and sharp perception toward controlling and guiding the potent medicinal force. He carefully directed the surging power to evenly distribute across each of the 27 mana channels, ensuring perfect uniformity in their restoration and enhancement. Under his precise guidance, each channel grew uniformly stronger, sturdier, and wider. They glowed vividly in his internal vision, becoming like thick, radiant rivers of pure mana pathways. Orion felt an exhilarating sense of relief and excitement as he realized the elixir was accomplishing far more than mere restoration. It was directly evolving his mana channels beyond the limit. Throughout this profound internal transformation, Lumi remained quietly encouraging, gently cheering him on without distracting his intense concentration. "Wow, Master! Your mana channels are evolving. They're becoming super strong now. You can handle so much more mana than before. Greater than over equal to less than over equal to." Orion's lips curled into a faint, proud smile at Lumi's excitement. "Indeed, Lumi. This elixir Grandma asked for is even more extraordinary than we expected. It's pushing me beyond my prior limits." Maintaining deep concentration, Orion sustained the internal process for several more minutes, ensuring every channel reached perfect harmony and strength. Eventually, as the potent medicinal effect finally began to subside, Orion calmly guided the remaining energy toward stabilizing the final structure, reinforcing the mana channels into a permanently enhanced state. At last, when the process completely finished, Orion slowly exhaled and opened his eyes. He felt an immediate difference. The flow of mana within him now moved effortlessly and powerfully, more fluid and robust than ever before. He took another deep breath, sensing the newfound clarity, strength, and smoothness in his internal mana circulation. He smiled softly, genuine gratitude filling his heart. Orion quietly whispered in sincere appreciation, "Thank you, Grandma Celine. You truly gifted me something incredible." Just then, in front of him, Lumi jumped up in her screen form as she danced happily, glowing brightly in delight. "Yay! Master is finally healed. You're better than ever." Orion chuckled lightly, nodding slowly. "Indeed. Now I won't lose mana from my mana channels and we can start recreating the affinity runes." Lumi curiously asked him, "Will you only form the previous fire, lightning, and wood affinity runes, Master?" He nodded his head. "Yes, I plan to first recreate them and break through to the 4th tier of the awakening realm. I have a feeling that if I can break through, then the subsequent boost might help me in fixing my sea of consciousness and my soul." I don't think that's how it works. You might damage your foundation further," Lumi weakly said. Orion exhaled a sigh. "Then I'll first form the affinity runes and do gotcha to see if I can get anything to save myself." Lumi's system panel danced all around Orion, happy that he wasn't going to repeat the mistake he made when forming his first affinity rune. That's good. We can slowly think about this, no need to take such an extreme risk." Smiling helplessly, Orion took out the storage ring Magi had reluctantly parted with earlier, gently rolling it between his fingers for a moment as he mentally prepared himself. He calmly extended his consciousness into the small yet rich space within the ring, where luminous clusters of mana crystals sparkled gently in his mental perception, filling the storage ring with a soft, captivating glow. Orion carefully assessed the massive accumulation of mana crystals inside. Around 25,000 pieces glowed like miniature stars in the mental space. Taking a deep breath, he decisively spoke to Lumi, who hovered curiously around him in her cheerful screen form.